and they can produce 7,000 of those in their first year of production next year. And that's incredible when you consider that our cruise missile production rates for the primes, the defense prime companies, is less than 900 a year. So we have to be able to do that. But it's not just the weapon stocks. We have enough to fight the war today, but we have to be able to have a manufacturing base that can scale up rapidly so we can actually deter China.
Yeah, it's the old Cold War adage from Ronald Reagan, peace through strength. Caspar Weinberger, his defense secretary, Dick Worthland, his chief strategist. It's just one of those phrases that's so true. It sort of passes the test of time through generations. It just makes logical sense. I will say I have a friend. He's actually my neighbor. He's Harvard educated. And I've tried to explain to him the pattern, particularly of Russia invading in Eastern Europe. And it happened under Bush, it happened under Obama. It didn't happen under Trump 1.0. And then it happened again under Biden. And it's just, to me, it seems like just a logical leap that's pretty easy to take, but he couldn't comprehend, right? Like, one of these things is not like the other. And the fact that Donald Trump was in office, this dictator who did this thing under previous regimes, administrations, and then the one that preceded Trump in Biden, and didn't do it when Trump was in office, he couldn't understand it. And that's the mind virus. But it's very simple, particularly for our commander-in-chief, his generals, Hegseth. They seem to be very clear-minded and understand. And I take China at its word. It kills its own people. It starves its own people to gain and retain power. And I take them at their word when they say they're going to invade Taiwan. Their military leadership, which is the government in communist China, is saying it, has been saying it, and I believe them. And it is comforting to know that at least right now we have a commander-in-chief who's just refocusing and redoubling his efforts in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people focus on the ships, the planes, the missiles, the bombs, those kind of things. But the real hard part is rebuilding the supply chain of the small contractors that build the pieces and parts that go in there. There's big factory at least 100 of the defense prime companies. They don't have just one big factory that builds a whole B-2 bomber or in this case now we're building B-21 bombers. All those parts are manufactured around the country in a supply chain that needs to be rebuilt and made more robust, that is scaling up capabilities to increase their production rates in the case of the China situation. And it's a vast problem. The Europe problem is much different than the Indo-Pacific sea lines of communication problem. Look, JDAM bombs and JASM missiles and jet fuel, they don't get to Diego Garcia for my B-1 bombers or B-52s or B-21s or B-2s by air. They get there by ship. That's why you hear air power people like me talking about ship manufacturing, and we're seeing some really good things. I would just like to see more, and I'd like to see it faster. Down here, we just had an announcement of and there's another thing, the workforce itself, in ship manufacturing. We just had an announcement yesterday that Bollinger Shipyards is partnering with a local Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College and opened up a training center for ship, different types of ship manufacturing skill sets and everything. We've got to really increase that ability to fill that workforce. We're about 500,000 welders short if we ramp back up to shipbuilding and shipyard capability that we had during the Cold War. So we've got to really figure that out, and we're working on it. Like I said just yesterday, Bollinger Shipyards and GCCC just made this announcement, got the ribbon on their new training facility. But we've got to do that more often.
Hey, Jody. just getting ready to do some dashing, but I got to set up a email for somebody who forgot.
Try to help solve this problem so we can get the workforce developed, get them in action, have the supply chain capability there, both in peacetime and with a scalability up to do a wartime production inside the United States, like we were able to do in World War II, which is what allowed us to.
This may blink out for a second. Just give me a second.
Both hemispheres of World War II, both theaters of operation.
There we go.
We don't have that capability right now, but we're working on it. And thank God we have a president and team that are focused on this.
Joining the program right now, retired Colonel Rob Maness. You can follow him at Rob, Maness. That's a staggering number, the 500,000 welders short to meet the needs. I oftentimes, as a small J journalist, will have conversations with friends in different professions that have, family and police leadership here in Jacksonville, Florida, family members who are retired teachers. And so I love it. A couple years ago, having a conversation with an aunt who's a retired teacher in South Carolina, and she told me she still works with some of the school districts. They're like 17,000 teachers short in the Palmetto State. And I was like, what? But here in Duval County, they're about 500 teachers and teachers assistants short. And you look at many different disciplines. The medical staffing. I literally just took one of my best friends and his wife to the airport yesterday. She's a physician assistant at Shands UF Hospital here in Northeast Florida, and she's been doing it for years.
How is Jody today?
And was contemplating quitting because she was working 6 and 7 days in a row because of staffing shortages. And so I imagine that's the type of thing that probably keeps you up at night, right? I know there's been a pretty concerted effort toward focusing on the trade disciplines, but that is a massive number. Are you seeing indications from the administration as
we're live?
Back
yeah,
a year and a half,
it's pretty smoky here.
Focusing on
actually have my AC on recirc.
Like we need.
I never use that.
But trained men and women working in these support disciplines, like welding, as you pointed out. I mean, are you seeing sort of a concerted effort and focus on building that up?
Yeah, we do that. We do see that from all the way from the president's immediate national security staff and domestic security staff to the Secretary of War's office and the good folks working for him, and down in the departments, the acting Secretary of the Navy, Hunkow, is focused. His top 3 priorities is increasing shipbuilding, and he's very focused on workforce development, supply chain, production, and those kind of things, and really diving into what are the challenges, because Navy shipbuilding has been a very big challenge for quite some time under the NAVSEA organization, but we've got to even dive further from that. inDOC Shipbuilding is another company that's down here in Gulfport, Mississippi. That's the major shipbuilding. They actually pay for a Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College class called shipbuilding. I put my son in it when I was homeschooling him in his senior year, and that teaches welding for shipbuilding. So we've got some really good partnerships going on, and things are elevating and increasing. But we really probably need to take a look at this and look at how we can accelerate production of, especially like welders or that, take advantage of robotic technology, especially in the ship manufacturing world, so that we can model some of these concepts that we see overseas in South Korea and Japan for these automated shipbuilding yards. So we've got to really get our hands around that even more than the administration already is, and figure out a way to accelerate this, because that's a daunting number, 500,000 welders short. But it's not unanswerable. Mm-hmm. The technology's there.
Yeah, you can't really see the sun here either.
We're getting new companies into the defense industrial base, but we've also got to expand out to the civilian industrial base, because what one World War II was.
General Hayes.
It was the ability of our modern manufacturers, like the Ford Motor Company,
Play winner
Cybertron,
3.
scale up their production, but shift their production lines into military production.
Yeah.
We don't have anything near that type of capability anymore. So I'm glad to see new companies like Anduril, Alexis Anduril, coming into the States, and Saronic, a company that's founded by a former Navy SEAL that's building these robotic ships out there that you're hearing about. The rescue people, air crews, and now we see they've got like a 250-foot 4-container delivery ship that's an autonomous robotic ship that they just put the sea trials I think in the last couple of days. But that is incredible. But we've got to expand it and accelerate it so that we can be in the right position, because the peace restraint concept goes all the way back to President George Washington. He said it himself. He said, "Look, the best way to keep the peace is to be prepared for war." It's the same concept that this president has, and that's where we need to be again, instead of this perpetual war concept that we've been in virtually since 9/11.
Yeah, it's such a win-win-win, because I saw this story from CNBC about Jamie Dimon investing $24 million to revive American shipbuilding, including financing for new submarine manufacturing facility in Philadelphia. And it just all ties into what Senator McCormick up there in Pennsylvania is doing. And it's a part of JP Morgan Chase's $1.5 trillion initiative to finance industries related and tied to national security. It's like the president's ability to get these titans of industry in a room and just say yes. Like this feels like that's like a blank check number. Like what about $1.5 trillion in investment? The audience is global for announcements and partnerships like that, right? It is our enemies who see that, but it's also our allies, and it sends them a message that we are actually serious about ramping up our defense industrial complex to the same point that you just made. If we look ready, then we don't necessarily have to stay ready. Our enemies will know that we're ready.
Exactly right.
Forgot to set up a couple emails. I got to set up. Just GoDaddy's really slow right now, loading them.
The concept that President Trump has brought back, it's not new. America has allies, but the allies aren't. They're not vassal states, so they're not there for the United States to solely provide for their national defense. They're there to be allies, so they need to pay for their own national defense and then be able to come to the battle as allies instead of as vassals when we call upon them. There's a big difference in that. It may be lost on some folks because of the last 30 years or so, 40 years, when we've allowed the NATO allies to essentially become vassal states over time. But that messaging,
shitty taste in my mouth.
You need to be able to take care of your own defense and add to what we have is what actually deterred the Soviet Union in the original concept of NATO. It's what actually will deter China in the future once we rebuild all of our manufacturing bases, not just in the United States, but in our allied countries too. They can see that we are working together, and that it's not just focusing on putting a bomb on a target over a 2-month or a 1-month period of time. We're focusing on the long game effort, because that's where the Chinese are at. They're on the long game. Xi just made a threat day before yesterday, I think it was, might have been yesterday, to the president saying, "You better watch out." Essentially, you don't want to start a fight, a combat fight over Taiwan. Well, that messaging is his way of saying we're ready, and I think they think they're ready. But here's the thing: the last 2 operations in Venezuela and Iran have shown the Chinese how weak their systems really are, because their stealth killer radars and missile systems were all supposed to be able to take care of that. Well, they were completely decimated without firing an effective shot, to be honest with you. So that might extend their decision timeline. But they're in the long game. They think in centuries,
do another one
as opposed to years.
That Longford set up.
And that won't be a problem for them. They're already thinking about, you mentioned 2028. Well, the original timeline was 2027 for taking Taiwan under this president. And they've extended that out a little bit. So they have to understand that we are also here for the long game and in-depth defense if necessary. And that in-depth includes the supply chain, beefing that up, beefing up our production capabilities and our scaling up capability. In addition to just increasing our day-to-day production, and then
what's the Southern person's name?
There are millions of Americans out here doing these jobs that need to be done, and they're not wasting their time in white-collar college courses, generating millions of dollars in debt that they won't be able to pay off.
Yeah. Colonel, before I get you out of here, your assessment of the operation in Iran as it stands right now?
I have to say I'm not surprised. The Iranians are, I think the president said it best, they have no honor. These Iranians that are in charge of this government, if they had honor, they would have never attacked an American embassy when they first took over the country and taken American hostages. If they had honor, they would not be attacking all their neighbors, even the ones that have befriended them and tried to help them over the years, like Qatar. They're attacking them. Secondly, and if they had any honor when they signed up for the MOU and said they would do certain things, and then they actually saw them, we would reward them with positiveness, like waiving the sanctions on their oil exports so they could actually get that $500 million in revenue per day that we were depriving them of through our blockade. If they had any honor, they would have honored that MOU and continued down the path to a deal, but they have no honor. They're scum. So I have to say I'm not surprised. Now we're at about the 6-month phase time on the timeline now. This is the point where the president, and I'm sure he's being very careful about this, he doesn't want to get back into another perpetual war thing where Americans are basically like we were doing in Afghanistan, Iraq, Air forces drilling holes in the sky and personnel on port operating bases and getting attacked in their convoys. And basically, being bled to death, both through our effort and our resources and actual, taking casualties and those kind of things. He doesn't believe in that type of policy. So I expect that you're going to continue to see a complete hammering of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is who really controls the country and who really have no honor. And that eventually, I think that the people of Iran will be strong enough and the IRGC will be weak enough to where they can rise up and end this, because that's what's really going to happen.
Yeah, negotiating with terrorists, right? Colonel,
there's a reason why we don't.
Yeah, Colonel Rob Maness, thank you for your time. Thank you for your sacrifice and service to the country in multiple theaters of war. And thank you to your family as well. For your time again, sir, this morning.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. God bless you.
There he is, Colonel Rob Maness. RobManess.com. You can get the latest on everything the Colonel's doing. A lot of detail there. A lot of interesting. The shortage in disciplines across the country is just mind-boggling. Sometimes 500,000 welders short to build out these different industries is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. All right, 866-957-2874 is the number to join the program. Completely free last 2 segments of the program, 4 calls as well. We'll get into that and some more news of the day right here on the David Webb Show. Stay with us.
The Will Count Majority.
Coming up right after the David Webb Show, we are going to talk to New York Governor Kathy Hochul banning AI centers and rampant Medicare fraud in adult daycare with Representative Claudia Tenney of New York.
The Will Count Majority coming up next at noon East after the David Webb Show on SiriusXM Patriot.
Why settle for a 7 a.m. tea time when you want it 8? Or an iced coffee when you ask for hot? Or a corporate card that gives you pennies in rewards when you could be saving thousands? Ramp is the only corporate card built to help companies spend less, not more. That's not coincidence. That's design. And it works without slowing you down. With Ramp, you get real-time visibility into every transaction. Out-of-policy spend blocked before it clears. Duplicate SaaS tools run you seats flagged before they waste your budget. Ramp automates the guardrails so you can stop chasing receipts and start driving strategy. Over 40,000 companies already run on Ramp, including CBRE and Shopify. They're not just logos, they're teams reclaiming time, cutting costs, and closing the books without overtime. Because with Ramp, the less you touch your expense system, the better it works. Right now, your business can get $250 off at ramp.com/SXM. That's ramp.com/SXM. Ramp, built for savings, not points.
Suffering with poison ivy and need relief fast? All Natural Marie Originals Poison Ivy Soap is your first line of defense against the noxious urushiol oil found in poison ivy. This sticky oil bonds to skin, clothes, and tools like axle grease. Marie Originals' patented urushiol lock technology scrubs, traps, and eliminates the oil for instant relief guaranteed. So whether you had a recent brush with poison ivy or your rash is already spreading, get doctor recommended Marie Originals Poison Ivy Soap in the first aid aisle at Walmart today.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-4181. Don't
Good morning.
TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-4181. That's 800-575-4181. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Freedom never gets old. Celebrating America 250. SiriusXM Patriot 125. Truth is the authority. This is the David Webb Show.
Welcome back. We're rocking and rolling right along.
No big deal.
Here, let me get the handle here on this person. Priscilla Alvarez, CNN correspondent.
All right, just finally got done with these emails here.
Formerly of the Atlantic.
Recovery.
I wonder what Priscilla's political proclivities are. One might imagine. Anyway, Miss Alvarez, and again, we don't know if this is true or not. This is just a CNN immigration correspondent tweeting this out. But I actually like it. Alvarez says President Trump was furious over the pause of most ICE vehicle stops and the blowback from his base. Sources tell me.
Oh, thanks, man.
And Caton Collins and Adam Cancrin. Neither DHS Secretary Mullen nor Tom Homan alerted President Trump to the pause on traffic stops before imposing them. Again, that's just Caitlin Collins and this Patricia Alvarez from CNN reporting that President Trump essentially was pissed off when he learned, probably in the news, that the DHS and ICE traffic stops would be paused after the shootings in Houston and Bedford, Maine. Bedford, Maine, by the way, just an incredibly underrated New England town. But anyway, the little shooting happened, the left is activated as they tend to do. They pounce on the story and weaponize it. And you know,
it's only 80 here, but it's smoky as hell outside.
That have been highly effective. I think we didn't get into it with Congressman Miller, but ICE agents are now going to truck stops to do searches for illegal immigrants. It's incredible.
Real heavy haze. Turn the camera around. You can kind of see it out the back window a little bit.
These traffic stops have been incredibly effective.
It's kind of hard to breathe outside too.
The left knows this, and their operations and their organizing, they've tried everything that they can do to physically stop them.
Turn the camera around. I got to go to the car wash, and I'm going to do some dashing.
Citizens have found themselves dead, trying to get in the way and interfere with federal immigration enforcement. Not a good idea. And so again, I don't know if this is true, but I just love the fact that it probably is. President Trump, like, hell no. Restart those ICE traffic stops. They have. Tom Homan was on a lot of the news programs. I saw him on Laura Ingraham last night, and Tom Homan's basically like, we're getting back down to it. I love this stuff. And again, like the Democrats, and I believe Senator Scott, are going to try to shut the government down.
How hazy it is.
And they can try at this point. What is the risk reward assessment on that? The New York Post, reporting ICE arrest record 238 illegal immigrants in one day during South Texas enforcement operation. I mean, this is incredible. So we got Bloodhound K9 units, just a full-throated effort to get these bastards off the street. ICE on Tuesday in Harlingen, Texas, field office working with local law enforcement partners arrested 238 illegal immigrants in a single operation in the Rio Grande Valley area. I love this. I love it so much. All right, 866-95-PATRIOT. That's the number.
Go, bird.
Go back to the phones. Ann, I know you're a beautiful woman because your name is Ann. Ann, you live in Florida. What's on your mind?
It's straight smoke from Canada.
Hey, good to talk to you this morning. Hey, you had a gentleman on earlier talking about
what the air quality index
how
is.
he's gone undercover in all the school systems.
Adam
Adam's
And smoke advisory until 4 a.m.
But, these are kind of radical
Friday.
times. But I think that we could take the teeth out of the teachers union, weaken it severely, and I think we can get these radicals out of our school if we require all teachers to go through psychological testing, and then require, from a safety perspective, a gun.
Yeah, it's the air quality index is 391. It's actually listed as hazardous.
But in every classroom, that would cut down on the school shootings, and
I think over 300, I think, is supposedly hazardous.
Nuts would refuse that. So they would leave, and we could require weapons training as part of their future work days. But I think that they have a responsibility to protect our children because they're parentis locus, and we would protect our children.
Oh, shit. Fucking missed. Supposed to go the other way on that turn. On that
circle. Get rid of the left-wing wackos, and when they get out, then the population of teachers in the union would be more conservative-minded.
Oh man, I'm thinking about this, and my mind just sort of goes
everywhere,
straight to just like the timeline. And I'm also thinking there has to be a state that would be sort of the testing ground for this. I'm thinking maybe Florida. Well, maybe, but I mean, you got some counties. Was it Hillsborough over in Central Florida, Tampa, Dade County down there in Miami? I mean, these are large counties. They control large budgets. Got a lot of. Usually, the way these things go, the larger the county, the more political sway because of the money, the amount of money that they control. It's not just the teachers, though, right? Like, I mean, if you look at the hierarchy of a school,
the administrators,
it's the superintendents. They got assistants superintendents. They got executive superintendents. I mean, but
what actually gets passed to the kids is from the teachers.
Yeah,
because
they get the marching. The problem is, and it's the unions. Okay, they generally sit at the top of the org chart, if you will. And they hold the national, they hold the statewide, sometimes they do countywide trainings.
I shouldn't have to.
At these trainings are written.
I got more running around to do later in the week, but that's why I'm doing door dashing.
Leadership and their committees on these teachers unions, right? The two major teachers.
I'll get a car wash first just because I bought the monthly package. And might as well go every day.
It's doled out at these national trainings.
Got quite a bit of bugs on my windshield. So.
Right now, since we're in the dead middle of the summer. And so by the time this stuff gets down to the teachers, you could be, a card-carrying Tea Party member with the middle name Reagan. And it really
I would prefer Rumble.
Because the decision's already made for you before you even walk into the classroom in any of these cases. And so it's a heavy lift. Yeah.
I was thinking, OSHA requirement, requires the sprinklers and it requires the fire suppression and all that. So they could require to have, these secure guns in every classroom, and the union couldn't say jack about it. State could do it.
And the simple solution is to destroy the system as it currently exists, because it is.
Yeah, but there's 50 ways to skin that cat, and we can make their life miserable.
Yeah. Well, no,
and this would be one way of doing that.
You're right. Oftentimes, it is the incentive structures in the states that have moved toward changing the incentives, right? Taking the power out of the public system and putting it in the hands of the parents, are seeing better results. Florida started it under Jeb Bush almost 20 years ago. And I'm just telling you, the unions, the NAACP, they have filed hundreds of lawsuits in that 2 decades. And it's the saddest thing, because the payment should be on the child, on the student.
Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. We have a tremendous live stream planned this morning. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we're going to be back this evening, so tonight's show will be a little bit later than usual. The president coming out at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the big reveal. And there is some speculation on what that might be. People are saying it might have to do with the Chinese, and we've talked a lot about the Chinese. We've read through previous intelligence assessments that said that they gobbled up a bunch of the voting rights, of the voting registrations, the lists that the states have in their care, seized by the CCP. And then, of course, we saw a bunch of IDs, fake IDs, come in through the ports of entry at various locations like in Michigan. And so maybe it has something to do with that. We don't know. But we'll be back to get into it at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as well. So if you're here early, hopefully you come back and join us late as well, because it should be a good one. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of activity percolating out there. We've got some fighting over some subpoenas. We've got cell phones being delivered to the White House to say we want to see if you're the leaker. We've got a probe to a sanctuary city, and we've got another policy as it relates to immigration and benefits all coming up, and Arizona have a big victory in the Justin Heap fight. But as per usual, let's take a look. I
don't think so.
Let's crack it over here today. From POTUS, maybe, because he's also busy. He's going to be meeting with Senator Darlene Graham. Looks like he may have just done that a little bit ago. Closed press there. Then El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, I think is his name, is coming out at 11. And Caroline Levitt is back today. So she was on maternity leave for quite some time. But she'll be back at 1 p.m. That's going to be very interesting. We haven't heard from her in a long time. And so she'll be back at some point, 1 p.m. today. And they've already got that on the C-SPAN docket. Then, of course, the big reveal. We're waiting. Trump will have some signing time. Policy meeting, 2 p.m. Signing time. Address to the nation, East Room on camera. And we don't know what this is going to be. Is it going to be like a national address, you know, like with the camera, and he sits there, like nobody else in the room, just the camera goes on, my fellow Americans. One of those. Or it's going to be like a podium, maybe it's like a border situation, he'll be in the Oval Office, maybe have a podium, maybe have CIA Director John Ratcliffe back there. Who knows? But we're looking forward to it, so we'll be covering it live. Now, meanwhile, we also got Todd Blanche, who is testifying right now. We'll chip in on a little bit of that. We got Russ Bott, OMB, also testifying. Labor Secretary nominee, TSA Administrator nominee. Concurrent with my active duty law enforcement service, I also serve as the national president of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association for 2 terms, representing federal offices from 65 different agencies nationwide. As a volunteer law enforcement leader, I have and continue to have the privilege of serving with the leaders of the largest national law enforcement organization. All right, so you know this thing is legit because he said law enforcement. So you know, like that's some serious old school law enforcement going on. So all right, so it's a bunch of witnesses today. I was kind of watching some of this before. John Ashcroft. I don't think we have anything from actually Todd Blanche, Danny Bensky. Don't know who any of these people are. Jennifer Boss. So they're all going to, you know, be taking their positions on Todd Blanche. All right. We'll see what ultimately happens with him. Congress, of course, does have some activity today. We've got Armed Services, Judiciary at 9 a.m. More nominations, one out of Colorado for a circuit judge. Armed Services, Energy and Natural Resources at 9:30. We've got Science and Transportation, 10 a.m. Finance, 10 a.m. Lots of other things happening here. Senate Foreign Relations at 11 a.m. And then that's it. And I think they're going on vacation pretty soon. When do they leave? Is that in August? When is the Congress recess coming up? When are they out of here? Yeah, it's August, right? So is it? I think they've scheduled it. Okay, so they've scheduled it from July 20th through early September. Woo. Yeah, so then they'll come back in the House. They're scheduled from July 20th through early September. Then the Senate is officially to begin its recess on August 7th and 8th, and then return after Labor Day in mid-September. So we're about to go on a big fat break. Yeah, it's August normally, but they're out early. So July.
What happened?
Yes. Hello, or exclusion of aliens. And so for green cards, it could trigger a broader ripple effect if immigrant families avoid healthcare, food, or housing assistance, even when they or their U.S. citizen children legally qualify, out of fear that it could hurt their immigration cases. So they can go home, or they can be here as non-citizens and provide for themselves. We don't need to take care of all of them. We can't even take care of our own people. Under existing federal immigration law, some individuals applying for a visa or green card can be deemed inadmissible if they are likely, quote, at any time to become a public charge. There are problems. Now we got to pay for them to exist. The Biden era rule came out in 2022. It limited the benefits that Homeland could consider. So they could only say you're a public charge. We narrowed what it encompassed. If you get cash welfare payments meant to cover basic living expenses and other long-term institutional care. If you're on that program, I got a shopping then we could say you're a public charge. So, but the truth is, right here, now what we're trying to do is restore the original meaning of the rule, the broader discretion that the government had during the first Trump administration, so that immigration officers can conduct case-by-case reviews, look at age, health, family status, assets, financial resources, education skills, and whether you're getting other taxpayer-funded benefits. Food stamps, Medicare. All right, we'll come back to this. I'll leave on David Webb show for you.
I don't think I can get any closer. Yeah, it's about as close as I'm going to get. Yeah, it generally is bigger. So as long as they have everything, it's better.
Or chairs, or umbrellas flying, or beach balls going berserk. I mean, they were startled, but they were also incredibly impressed. The New Republic, which is a left-wing rag, Pete Hegseth praises flyovers after putting beachgoers in danger. I just saw a tweet from Pete Hegseth saying the flyover will
be right back
until morale improves. It's just, I mean, I don't really know what this does. I can guess that this drives a person who is suffering from an extreme psychological dislocation that has left them just incredibly mentally weak and in tatters. This will only drive that person further into their psychosis. As evidence from that New Republic headline, my takeaway was I want the flyovers, right? Like I live next to a naval base. I mean, what's happening, man? I want it. Why can't I be on the beach with one of these flyovers happening? Anyway, so I don't really know what happens in these conversations. But we saw this, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where you had the helicopters, just like it's helicopters, but it's massive, they're large, and the videos go viral. And I think, what was it? Producer Edwin, was that I think it was around the Super Bowl time, because I wanted to say 6 months ago. It was around the Super Bowl. The Apache like flies eye level at Kid Rock's estate in Tennessee, and it was a big thing. It was all investigations, and nothing happened. And that was, I think, the first time, at least that I can remember, this situation happening, and the left just went nuts. Who okayed this? Is disciplinary action going to be taken? It just, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it beyond it's cool as hell, and I just want to be there when it happens, if I can be. Oh boy. Oh man, this is fun. Former representative and current congressional candidate Cory Bush is now under investigation by the Missouri Attorney General for allegedly funneling charity donations for a devastating tornado nonprofit, and used the money for political spending. Man, Cory Bush was one of the original squad members. So hopefully she can return to office, because the more radical Marxists we have in Congress, the more elections that Republicans win, I believe. That is my theory. Incredible stuff. It just absolutely incredible. Because there's so much news. This one definitely caught my eyes. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, just incredible stuff. The senator is still just dismissing the rape accusations from Graham Plattner's first accuser. Number one, the last thing Democrats actually need is for Graham Nazi tattoo Plattner to be back in the news. Number two, you definitely don't need it being back in the news, because a Democrat in Senate leadership is saying, yeah, that woman was part of a Koch brothers conspiracy. It's just, oh my gosh. I understand that the Democrats may win back, the House. I doubt they'll win the Senate, but I mean, how weak and spineless and ridiculously bad at messaging will Republicans be if Democrats win the House? I mean, these people are beyond stupid. Jeremy, have you don't tell me you've seen one of these flyovers just chilling on the beach with the family and friends. Please don't make me jealous, Jeremy. Come on.
No, it wasn't on the beach. It was over in Afghanistan. We had Apache. We were up on top of a mountain. Apache came right over the top of the mountain, and it had to be like 5 feet away. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever seen. And my boss was like, hey, there's that you ever watch this? Like, they're about to do a flyover real quick. And I was like, okay. And then it came up, and like I fell to the ground. I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
Well,
I'm looking at this video, and you could, like, because I've lived in Jacksonville for 10 years, and the Blue Angels do an annual event every year. Mm-hmm. And I could just tell that was one of the Blue Angels. And, you know, the people in the video are just like, it's as if, you know, the Beatles had just come out on stage. They were like, they wanted more, and they kept flying by. It's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I will say, I did see one video where there was one that was close, and then there was like a tent and a thing that flew up. I was thinking to myself, I was like, that, and it straight up reminded me of like over on the mountains of people. I was like, oh, crap, that was kind of cool. But I'm like, who doesn't want to see our military might just flying through? Like, I love it. I didn't know. Even in the Army, I want to see these things. I didn't know exactly that is what I was getting when I voted Trump back in, but I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. I'm all for it. Oh, 100%. 100%. I love it, Jeremy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, have a good one. You too. It's so funny. Bill, were you on the beach in Pensacola during the flyover?
I was not, sir, but I do live in Pensacola and home of the Blue Angels, and we love those guys, no matter what they do. What happened was when the pilot went over, some of the wind from the trail edge or the trailing edge of the jet itself, it caused some chairs and a few other minor things that blew away. And the people on the beach, from what I saw, they were loving it. They said, "Oh, we can't get enough of it. Do it again. Do it again." But there's always going to be somebody that's going to bellyache about it, complain. And I'll tell you, I've been watching air shows since I think I was 18, and that was 1,000,000 years ago. And first one I saw was up in Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I have to tell you, I never, ever, ever get tired of air shows. Love them. I go to every single one of them.
So I guess I'm east. I am what is that? East. I'm southeast from the naval base here in Jacksonville, and it's not often, but there will be at least 2 fighter jets that'll fly by at least once a week, twice a week, and it never gets old. And I mean, they're 10,000 feet up at that point. Secretary Hegseth announcing the flyovers will continue after Blue Angels perform the jaw-dropping, low-profile flyover at the beach. I love it. The flyovers will continue until morale improves. I think I don't know. I don't know if I enjoy this story more because of the leftists pulling out their purple and pink dyed hair over it. Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, they can go soak their heads as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Bill, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Call. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The president right now, I believe, is meeting with Nayib Bukele. Man, that's the thing. The president's going to speak at about 9 p.m. The dude just has an incredible battery in his back. I mean, he just never really stops. Incredible stuff. Meeting with Nayib Bukele at the White House. So in about an hour, Caroline Levitt will return. Producer Edwin, I think this would be her first press briefing since taking maternity leave. I want to say. Yeah, I think this will be her first one. I think 90% of the questions asked will focus on what the president will say during his primetime address to the nation tonight at 9 p.m., which I will see. I'm going to see the Odyssey. 2 hours and 56 minutes of no Greeks in a movie about the greatest Greek epic in literary history. So that'll be fun. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. All right. Breitbart.com is your one-stop shop for all the latest and breaking news. You can sign up for our newsletters and the Fight Club. You can see my face. You can hear this voice and see my moderately attractive face. All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you for everybody that called in. Didn't get to you all, but I promise we'll do better next time. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-848-1331. That's 800-848-1331. 800-848-1331. Suffering with poison ivy and need relief fast? All Natural Marie Originals Poison Ivy Soap is your first line of defense against the noxious urushiol oil found in poison ivy. The sticky oil bonds to skin, clothes, and tools like axle grease. Marie Originals patented urushiol lock technology scrubs, traps, and eliminates the oil for instant relief guaranteed. So whether you had a recent brush with poison ivy or your rash is already spreading, get doctor-recommended Marie Originals Poison Ivy Soap in the first aid aisle at Walmart today.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Freedom never gets old. Celebrating America 250. Sirius XM Patriot 125.
News this hour is Town Hall here in Washington. President Trump is making a primetime speech to the nation that's expected to include, among other topics, election issues tonight, saying for the most part about what to expect, but he says it will include, quote, really big news. People are headed for higher ground in Texas today. That's after days of pounding rain forced authorities to rescue dozens of people from rising waters today before sunrise. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Our primary focus right now and throughout the remainder of this torrential rain is saving lives. To achieve that goal, I've already issued a disaster declaration for 59 counties across the state.
The U.S. Coast Guard has suspended its search for 3 people still missing after a boat capsized in San Francisco Bay this week.
The Coast Guard says that after searching more than 800 square miles of water, they've suspended their search for 3 people missing when a boat capsized Tuesday in the choppy waters of San Francisco Bay. On board were 20 family members celebrating the life of a loved one who died more than a decade ago. Justin Marceline says he was commercial fishing with another man when they saw smoke billowing out of the boat and they went over to help.
People were either frantically, because we were going in and out with our boat, they were either super frantic and we just had to grab them and, look at my face, look at me in the eyes, I'm not going to let you go.
I'm Donna Warner.
President Trump has reversed course on a recent policy change at the Department of Homeland Security. We get more details in this report from correspondent Willie Nelson.
President Trump is ordering ICE to resume vehicle stops after the Department of Homeland Security briefly paused the enforcement tactic. The president says traffic stops remain one of ICE's most effective tools for identifying and removing criminal illegal immigrants. The reversal comes after agents were instructed to limit most vehicle stops pending additional training. Willie Nelson, the White House.
On Wall Street, the Dow was up by 134 points. NASDAQ down 274. More from townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Here's Rich Thomason now with the Midday Wall Street Business Report.
Retail sales rose a modest 0.2% last month, following a 1% rise in May. Online on Wall Street and markets overseas, chip and memory companies are getting hit the hardest, with Western Digital and SanDisk leading the way down with losses of more than 7%. Micron fell 4.5%, despite the heavy crude slipped 22 cents. The Wall Street Business Report. I'm Rich Thomason.
All right. We're back.
Fusion of rational thought and political analysis.
Man.
This is what your brain has been waiting for. News, politics, and issues. And just join the majority.
Your generation of great talk radio. The founder of the new school. That is me. Andrew Wilkow, Sirius XM Patriot phone lines, as always. 16695 Patriot 957-2874. The email. Spell my name right. WILKOW at Individual Patriot first, Conservative second, Republican third, and working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by Sirius XM Radio, because it's based in one thing and one thing only. And that is rational thought. So welcome to the Vocal Majority. I'm Andrew Wilk. All right, where do we start? We have a lot. I don't care if it's summer. I don't care if the sun is shining, you've got the windows down, and you listen to the yacht rock. We are still going to go full intensity every single day up to the election. I will be taking off next Friday, though. But other than that, I don't think we're taking off any real time between now and the election. Let's see. Let's start with, the obvious. We do know that Trump is further escalating action against Iran.
Oh, there's a Minnesota fan.
Taking out more military targets. We are learning that the Iranian regime cannot be dealt with. It cannot be bargained with. And it must be
Weird. Minnesota Viking and Ohio State fan.
A nuclear weapon. But Trump has been doing a lot of other things. He has ordered a restoration of the program that allows ICE agents to use vehicles to pull people over for a simple reason. Nobody's talking about this. Why is this happening? They say it's because of blue states, because he's taking it out on blue states because of governors. Well, in a way, that's correct. You see, in Florida or Tennessee or any red state, Oklahoma, local police, county sheriffs will inform ICE if they have somebody being released from custody who's in the country illegally who has committed a crime. In states like Minnesota, Tim Walz says, oh, you raped a 10-year-old girl, you're the victim here. You've been oppressed. The country's been bad to you, so I'm going to pardon you so you don't get deported.
What's going on?
By deporting this person, he says, we don't make our streets safer. Right, sure, we need more child rapists on the street. But in these blue cities and blue states, they don't tell ICE they're releasing someone from prison, so ICE has to track them down. None of this would be necessary if these blue cities and blue states cooperate. Well, I don't know how many people have been killed on the roads by illegal immigrant truck drivers, but Donald Trump has had enough of it. Play cut one.
Today, I'm making one more important announcement. My administration will soon take historic action to get illegal alien truck drivers who are just killing a lot of people. They can't read signs. Many of them are on drugs or alcohol, and they shouldn't be driving these things. And they came in totally illegally, and we don't want them, but they are driving all over American roadways, and we're going to replace them with proud American veterans. We're going to take our veterans, we're going to teach them a lot about driving trucks, and in many cases they know. We're going to say any American who's driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license. So we're going to get them taken care of.
I like this. If you've driven heavy equipment in a battle zone, in a combat zone, on foreign soil, you've been trained to drive these heavy trucks, and you have done so for the military, we'll immediately recognize that for a commercial driver's license. Perfect. That's an absolutely perfect policy. I don't see how that can possibly go wrong. Now, also, and super producer Mike and I have talked about this endlessly in the office, and I've talked about it on the air, that the reason why you don't want the government controlling industry, why we don't like DEI, is because the government metrics for who's qualified to do what. When you have academic leftists who believe they should...
Yeah, I'm surprised for the middle of the day.
Who gets a job? You say, well, here's a chip manufacturer making a better chip, but the grant money goes to this other company because they've got transgender people on the board of directors, and Trump is putting a stop to that as well. Cut two.
Get this ridiculous CHIPS Act where you get billions of dollars to a company and they didn't even know what the hell to do with it. You give them billions of dollars, they say they're going to build. Nobody knew what to do with it. And of course, the standards were so high. If you weren't transgender, as an example, you didn't qualify. So they get the money, that hired to look all over for transgender people to run the company, large portions. They couldn't find them. They weren't into the chip making business, I guess, right? They had other things on their mind. But this was the Biden fools, those idiots that almost destroyed our country.
Uh-huh. Yeah. This is why we don't like DEI. This is why we don't like the government dictating who gets to run things. Let the best company and the best product win. Now, this one is fascinating to me. If you don't know the backstory, and my friend Jennifer Van Laar, who is the clearinghouse, the walking, talking expert on the hypocrisies of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has been coddled financially by the Getty oil family since his first ever run for anything. His father and Gordon Getty were best friends. They went to school together, and they took Gavin Newsom under their wing. But according to Gavin Newsom, capitalism doesn't work. Play cut 8. Something's fundamentally broken here. And that wealth is creating power locking in rules and regulations, locking everybody else out. We can't play on the margins anymore. We can't fail more efficiently. Certainly nostalgia is not working. I would argue socialism is not going to work. But capitalism as we know it doesn't work either. Capitalism doesn't work either. The scion of the Getty oil family is saying that capitalism doesn't work. This ought to tell you what kind of slimy, shape-shifting, fake, phony piece of garbage Gavin Newsom is. He is just trying to ride the wave. His entire life has been propped up by capitalism. His entire life has been propped up by the oil industry. But now, because he sees the rise of these idiotic left-wing socialists all gravitating to New York City to take it over, now he wants in. He wants a piece of the action. Motley Crue song. He wants a piece of their action. He wants to be the great white hope. This is a spoiled, rotten trust fund baby who's had one of the biggest oil family money behind him his entire adult life. And that brings me to this. Daria Lisa Via Chevalier, whose father is a Miami real estate landlord. I've told you this time and time and time again. They love to talk about Norway. They never liked the context. Here we go. Cut 11.
The most successful model of socialism anywhere in the world, outside the United States, in terms of both human rights and widespread economic justice, that you would point to emulate, because you know what the critics say, right? They're always going to point to the worst examples, the Soviet Union, some of the dictatorships in Latin America at various times, communist China, things like that.
You know, I think that there's a lot we can learn from many parts of the world. I think places in Europe, like Sweden and Norway, for example.
Norway.
They don't have
Norway's
socialism
the
there.
example. Norway has net zero immigration. Net zero. They do not allow people into that country that they believe in on any level will be taking advantage of their system. Sure, if you're a brain surgeon, if you're a physicist, if you're an engineer, if you're a wealthy business person who wants to immigrate to Norway, they'll let you buy your way in. If you go on their English translation website for immigration, it's very clear. They do not accept anyone they believe to be a public charge, and there's a 7-year probationary period. You have to prove on day one that you are self-sufficient. They don't say, come on in. We will divide our resources away from our population, and we will give you everything that you need. We were wrong. What do you think the population of Norway is, super producer Mike? We had a guess. Mike and Dubs, throw out a number. Turn on the microphone, throw out a number. What do you think the population of Norway is? The total population. And turn the mic on so people can hear you. Just don't think too much. Just throw out a number. Total country of Norway. 4 million. No. Mike. What do you got? 6 million? Okay, you're closer. It's 5.6 billion. That's less than half the population of the city of New York. They have roughly 15.5 people per square kilometer. 86% of its people living in the major cities. So they have lots of land, lots of oil, and no people. And still, they do not let people into the country. 5.6 million. There are more than 5.6 million people on Manhattan Island right now where I'm broadcasting from. Right now. The entire country is 5.6 million. They want to take a monochromatic society with closed borders, less than half the population of one city in the United States, and spread that economic and social welfare system among 350 million people, 20 to 40 million of whom are in the country illegally, and they want to invite more people in and reduce the number of people paying taxes. I will sit here all day, and I will listen to your argument on how to make that work and why we should make that work. We don't hear arguments anymore. We hear insults. One of the reasons why I don't play clips, and there's a laundry list of them every single morning, from Newsnight with Abby Phillip.
There's no internet here.
What you see when you see those clips is the point is lost. The only thing that gets around is the insult. Did you hear that? What an O. And I was talking about this to Mike on our morning call. You know where this stems from? I can tell you where it stems from. And maybe I'll even play the clip. About 20 years ago, I think it was 22 years ago, Jon Stewart went on Crossfire and called Tucker Carlson a dick. Nobody remembers what they were actually debating. Nobody remembers what the subject of the conversation was. Nobody remembers Bill Press or Tucker Carlson or whoever it was on the show. They remember Jon Stewart insulting Tucker Carlson. They don't remember the argument. That was the beginning of the end of important debate in this country. So now we're supposed to model Norway. We're supposed to model Norway. How do we model Norway? With an open border. It's been said by many, I believe Milton Friedman coined it, you can have the open border, you can have the welfare, you can't have both. How does the American taxpayer, super wealthy people will always have the ability to legally evade taxes? The poor don't contribute anything. How does that middle ground of the taxpayer compensate the system that plans to have another 20 million people come in here? Another 20 million after that if Democrats take over. Please explain. I realize nothing I'm saying right now is going to go viral. I'm not going to have that moment on Twitter. We do rational thought. That's what we do. For better or for worse, for niche or for viral. I can speak these words, they can go out to the universe and disappear, never to be respoken again. But that's what we do. How do you mirror the system of Norway with a population of the United States and an open border? I throw to you the universe. The answer is you can't. You can't import every third world savage, every illiterate, and give them a CDM. You can't just bring all of Haiti here and plop them into one American city and go, this is going to be great for economic growth. It doesn't work. Y66 95 Patriot 957-2874. And if it did, Norway would do it. Sirius XM Patriot. You can win your fantasy football league in the summer, but you sure can lose it on Sirius XM Fantasy.
No, I'm gonna grab something though.
Fantasy football lineup to help you build a championship team. Need your help.
Should have brought some tea with me.
John Hanson, Jeff Radcliffe, Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life, and the Fantasy Footballers.
Fantasy football is fun. Winning is even more fun, and our listeners do both.
Listen live on Channel 87 or print your draft anytime by searching Draft Season on the Sirius XM app.
Which varies by plan, new contracts, and exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com. Auto repair bills are through the roof. $3,000 to replace the transmission, $4,000 for a blown engine. And if your manufacturer's warranty is expired, you'll have to cover it all out of pocket. You need an Endurance Auto Protection Plan. No matter what the mileage, if your car is under 20 years old, Endurance can get you covered on the engine, electrical system, transmission, AC, drivetrain, and more. Endurance has plans for any budget. Repairs can be done at the certified mechanic of your choice, and they're paid directly with no middleman. Plans cover 24/7 roadside assistance, towing, battery jumps, fuel deliveries, tire changes, lockout services, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Act now and get our elite benefits, including complete tire care and key fob replacement. A $2,000 value at no extra cost. With Endurance, you could never pay for covered auto repairs again, so call now for your free quote. Call 800-458-3124. 800-458-3124. 800-458-3124.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Last month, my business cash flow got tight. Sales were slow.
Invoices were late, and payroll was coming fast. My business is everything, and people rely on me. I can't let them down. I applied online at lenseek.com and had business funding in 24 hours. Business moves fast. Don't wait until it's too late. Whether it's lines of credit, term loans, working capital funding, or revenue-based financing, LendSeek is open for business. Apply now at LENDSEEK.com.
Hey, if you're shopping for a new kitchen, you cannot miss the Buy More, Save More sale at Cabinets to Go. Because right now, the more you buy, the more you can save. We're talking quick ship in-stock.
It's way over on the other side of town, though.
45% off Cotswold linen and chalet white. And if you're going all in on a custom designed kitchen tailored to your space, their custom built cabinets are 50% off. Shop in showrooms nationwide or online now through July 21st. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
Mark Levin. The first time in the history of mankind, a clean slate, a nation was born. During the Revolutionary period, the most important philosopher was John Locke. John Locke talked about sovereignty, the sovereignty of the individual, the consent of the governed, representative government. Almost got him killed. After all, he lived under a monarchy. The Mark Levin Show, weekdays starting at 6 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Patriot. Freedom never gets old. When the media makes you sick. We'll pass it.
You know, most people don't know. This is the original Come On Feel the Noise by Slade. Quiet Riot is looking for its next singer. I sent a text message to a friend of mine who's he's in many metal bands, runs a studio in East Rutherford. Shout out Alan Tecchia. I was like, dude, you should try it for the band. He's like, not my bag. I'm like, but you can know the notes that Kevin DuBrow hit. No? All right. I feel bad for Quiet Riot. They got a raw deal. The record company made them cover Slade songs to kick off their career, and they got left behind by the likes of Motley Crue. And it always made Kevin DuBrow bitter, but now they're on their 18th singer. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. So one more time, let's play this. Daria Lisa Chevalier saying that we need to emulate Nordic socialism. Cut 8. Something's fundamentally. Oh, that's my fault. Cut 11. Sorry, that's my fault. Cut 11.
All right, I'll be right back.
The most successful model of socialism anywhere in the world outside the United States in terms of both human rights and rights and economic justice that you would point to emulate, because you know what the critics say, right? They're always going to point to the worst examples, the Soviet Union, some of the dictatorships in Latin America at various times, communist China, things like that.
You know, I think that there's a lot we can learn from many parts of the world. I think places in Europe, like Sweden and Norway, for example.
Her family's from the Dominican Republic. Why doesn't she say Dominican Republic? Why is it when we see these leftist marches, they're waving Mexican flags, they're waving Venezuelan flags, and they're waving old Soviet Union flags with the hammer and sickle? I don't see Norwegian flags. Do you see Norwegian? Have you ever seen a left-wing socialist, communist, Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, whatever you want to call it, anti-WTO protest where there's one Norwegian flag? Have you ever seen a Norwegian flag at one of these protests? Ever in your life? No, you haven't. You see Palestinian flags. You see Iranian flags. And do they get them at Amazon, or is there like a dumb leftist website where you trade in your flags? Okay, it's Venezuela. No, turn that back in here. Here's Iran. Have you ever seen a Norwegian flag at any protest led by the left in this country? No, you have not. Have you seen the hammer and sickle? Yes. Have you seen a bust of Lenin? Yes. Have you seen Che Guevara? Yes. Have you seen Pol Pot? Yes. These are the people that thought Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro were heroes of the revolution. When have you ever seen the Norway cross flag? The answer is never. Never, ever, ever. Now you have, let's see. Shelley Pingree. Shelley Pingree wants to be the governor of Maine.
Lady's so close, I could barely get in.
Obviously, DSA has been a topic of Democratic politics for the last month.
Oh, great.
Is DSA Association
Got one.
There
Now she's gonna pull out.
Moderate voters in your state? You know, when people talk about DSA, they use it as a buzzword. But if you ask the people in my state how they feel about universal access to health care and making sure that we have school meals for every kid in our state, that affordable housing and childcare is available to people, all of a sudden some of the socialist principles sound pretty good to them. And I think the problem is people get caught in the buzzwords. We need to talk about the actual policies and principles that people stand for.
Yeah, okay. From the federal level, do we even talk about the Constitution anymore? No, we don't. Right on the DSA website, they have a plan to abolish the Senate and to, well, see, no, hold on a second here. Let me play one more clip and then I'll get to that. Here's Representative Gwen Moore from Wisconsin. Play cut 9.
Regulating industry so that they don't dump poison into the water and the air. They want to call that socialist. To try to have alternative energy sources and to diminish our fossil fuel imprint. They call that socialist. So I think that Democrats have got to stop being shy about that term.
You know that the EPA was created under a Republican president.
Nixon,
the
right?
Civil Rights Act was a Republican product. Anti-abolition, anti-segregation, these are all products of the Republican Party. We do know that, right? I mean, we do know that, don't we? Now, right here from the DSAUSA.org website. Replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy. Now, wait a second. We have the Green Party. We have the Green Party. We have the Libertarian Party. There is a Communist Party USA. There's a Socialist Party USA. Hell, there's a Nazi Party USA, which was being paid for by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So we already have that. Expand the House of Representatives, implement proportional representation, and ranked choice voting in all elections. Abolish the Senate. So they want one popular body to make all the decisions. No checks and balances. Now, they do claim they want the executive branch to simply follow what is passed by the legislative branch. On that, I don't disagree. That's what the Constitution says. It's supposed to be that Congress, the two chambers, create legislation, and the presiding officer of the executive branch executes the law of the land. It was never intended to have a presidency that wielded its own authority as far as rulemaking. But you can thank the likes of Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and others for that. But what they want is they want mobocracy and an open border so every third world impoverished savage can come here and get free stuff. And it's right here on their website. They say, and I quote, housing is a human right. Build new publicly owned social housing, strictly regulate investment properties, establish universal rent control, and guarantee a right to counsel for all tenants. Housing is a human right. I will sit here and listen. 3 minutes on the clock, uninterrupted. Uninterrupted. How is housing a human right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. not the distribution of happiness, the pursuit of happiness. When they talk about access to healthcare, everybody already has access to healthcare. There's a difference between promoting access and promoting redistribution. The idea that any one person should have to work to buy themselves a home, then buy someone else a home, is ridiculous. But that's where these people are. But they want to be like Norway. They want to be just like Norway. 16695 Patriot 9572874. Come on, I'll give you 3 minutes on the clock. On the clock. Come on, you can do this.
Look at that! It's so bad. You barely see the
right
buildings
distance. Huh? Come on, you can do this. Come on, knock me into the dump tank.
Yeah, they're building this Meijer fast. This new grocery store right across the street from Kroger.
Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him labor diligently to build one for himself. Does anyone know who said that? One of our most revered presidents. He's on the money, literally. I'll give you a hint. The coinage that he's on, there's debate about eliminating it.
$1?
All right, I'll give you another one. He's on the $5 bill.
Oh.
Abraham Lincoln. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another.
Why would they get rid of a $5 bill?
And build one for himself. The Democratic Socialists say housing is a right. Therefore, you owe someone else. Now, how could that be? See, I noticed something here. When I get into these heady topics, I don't get smart Democrats calling the program. I don't get anybody who wants to make an argument. Even if I offer 3 minutes on the clock to make an argument. Because we don't listen to arguments anymore. How does that work? Housing is a human right and an open border.
As soon as I pulled in here, I got an order. I didn't hear it though. Chime in. I think I looked down at my phone.
At the expense of the taxpayer. How does that work? I'd love you to explain it. We're going to be like Norway, they say. In Norway, 0.3% of their population lives at the global poverty level, and I will bet you any amount of money that's about whatever number of people they have taken in that are refugees. They do. They have taken in refugees. I'll bet you that's who's living at the poverty level. An open border. We've abolished ICE. We've abolished CBP. We've defunded the police. We have no border security whatsoever. Anyone who wants to come in, comes in. And housing is a human right. It is a human right, meaning you must be given a house upon arrival. Under health care, guarantee universal health care at no cost to individuals, including complete access to reproductive and gender-affirming care. Expand healthcare access and quality by investing in new public hospitals and clinics. Make all medical education and training public and free.
You mean which do I shop?
DEI in the medical schools.
What does that mean?
We're going to guarantee anyone who crosses the border.
This is a McDonald's run.
Free healthcare and a free home.
It's not a shop. It's not a shop run.
Recreation, learning, and social spaces are accessible to all. Establish paid family leave for all workers. 32-hour work with
right as you turn
benefits and a living minimum wage.
God, it's so
provide free quality education from pre-K to college and cancel all student debt. Where have you heard this before? These are the 10 pillars of communism. This is a roots. These are the communists. These people are born losers. They're absolutely born losers. So they gravitate to this because this is the only way. The only way they will have power and status. But see, here's the problem. When they F it all up, and if this worked, Venezuela should be the envy of the world. Let's just take out North Korea. Let's not even argue China. Let's argue Venezuela. 21st century socialism. That was the platform that Hugo Chavez ran on in 1998. How is the country doing now? almost 30 years later. 29 years ago, they implemented full state-run socialism in Venezuela. How's it working now? Are Americans going to Venezuela, or are Venezuelans trying to come to the United States? You tell me. And this is one just funny. Feminism for all. Socialist feminism fights for queer liberation and the freedoms of all working class women. Stop gender violence and end policies that oppress bodily autonomy in an intimate life, including patriarchal restrictions on abortion, childbirth, and child raising, gender expression and transition, marriage and divorce, ban sex discrimination, and ensure fair compensation and support for all forms of labor, including care work. By the way, that's one thing that they don't understand about the Communist Manifesto. There was no feminism. Karl Marx wanted to be a Luddite when it came to any technology that would replace the labor of a man with that of a woman. It's in there. I've read it. These people don't even know really what they're standing on.
Oh.
They're just overprivileged, wealthy losers.
Don't be sorry about it.
We are right.
I probably wasn't clear enough when I first got the order.
Will never be broken. Our 20th anniversary is coming up in just a few weeks. Sirius XM Patriot.
It's that time of year when Radio Classics feels a certain seasonal spirit.
We're not going to start before Christmas, but sweetheart.
So all this week, it's Christmas in July.
We don't have to wait till Christmas.
Poor guy's been trying to get inside this funeral home all morning.
Wow, Merry Christmas to you.
Christmas in July is happening now.
Be sure to dress warm now.
Warm on Radio Classics, Channel 148, and the Sirius XM app.
My fiance is a veteran.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting
I'll be right back.
disability benefits.
Luckily, BAV came to the rescue. They fought for me, saying that I fought for my country.
Every year, BAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Do you have coins, jewelry, precious metals, or high-end collectibles and are looking to sell for top dollar? Sil DeGenova, CEO and owner of Tangible Investments, has become legendary by beating his competitors' offers by as much as 500%.
I had a diamond ring that's been an heirloom in my family for many years, so I went to a local jewelry store and they offered me $600. I just wasn't comfortable. I took it down to Tangible Investments and they offered me over $6,000. That store is absolutely awesome.
Stories like these are why Tangible Investments has become America's top dealer, why you'll see Sil featured on CNBC, the History and Discovery Channel, and quoted in the Wall Street Journal. Right now, gold, jewelry, and collectibles prices are at record highs. Shop the competition, then call him last. You'll be amazed at the difference, guaranteed. Call now for an absolutely free, no obligation appraisal. Call 800-885-1400. That's 800-885-1400. 800-885-1400. Before you sell, call Sil. Tangible Investments.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
With the high price of new and used cars today, many drivers are choosing to keep their vehicles a lot longer. But with the average car now over 12 years old, most manufacturers' warranties have expired. I'm Danica Patrick. If your car is out of warranty, a single trip to the mechanic could cost you thousands. That's why smart drivers choose Endurance. If your vehicle is less than 20 years old, no matter the mileage, Endurance could have your car covered for the drivetrain, electrical, AC, transmission, and more. Endurance is with you every step of the way, from filing a claim to paying a mechanic of your choice directly.
Man, it's nasty
your
out.
rate won't go up no matter how many claims you
Bad taste in my mouth every time I go outside.
and choose the plan that fits your budget. Act now and get 1 year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value free.
For your fast free quote, call 800-458-1375. 800-458-1375. 800-458-1375.
Coverage varies by plan, view contracts and exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com.
Sean Hannity. We live in the single best, greatest country God ever gave man. In your quiet, more reflective moments, you think of the sacrifice, the gifts. So many have sacrificed for our liberty, our freedom. What a blessing this is. I gotta say this. Thank God we live in the best country ever. And happy 250th birthday to the United States of America.
The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Patriot. Freedom never gets old.
The Locale Majority, keeping DC off your back since 2006.
Geez, you want to feel old? I remember playing this on the radio when it first came out. In a previous life. It was a Friday night. I woke up. All right, phone lines, 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. Let me play one more clip before we get to calls here. And some of these will get played over again. My governor, Mikey Sherrill, and here's what's happening right now with these establishment Democrats. They're trying to coddle. They're trying to coddle the Democratic Socialists. They know that this wave is coming for them. And there's going to be more primaries. I live in New Jersey. I live in Morris County, New Jersey, which is purple-ish. It used to be more red, but then the COA laws, we've been building apartment after apartment after apartment after apartment. It's just, it's funny. The Democrats will...
I've never seen the air quality index say hazardous before.
Moving people into more suburban areas. Flip them.
And we've had,
all about that.
you know,
So have you noticed all the
air quality issues from forest fires and stuff like that, but
and all of their environmentalism.
Never to where it was so high that hazardous.
Isn't that weird? You know, Bill Gates came out that long ago. He said, well, maybe we weren't right about this climate change thing. Oh, because you want to build data centers. Right. So you mean it was bullshit from the beginning? But here's my governor, Mike.
That's up to 407. Holy crap.
Saying that New Jersey is going to make homes more affordable. Cut 6.
We can't make New Jersey more affordable until we make housing more affordable. That's why our 2027 budget protects the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, investing tens of millions of dollars in building housing New Jersey families can afford. And it increases down payment assistance so more first-time home buyers can put down roots.
Air quality index 407.
We're also expanding funding to get our veterans into permanent housing as we work to effectively end veteran homelessness here in New Jersey this year. I'll keep working to lower housing costs and make New Jersey more affordable for hardworking families.
What she really means is we're going to tax homeowners. Again, that Lincoln quote, we're going to tax you so we can give somebody else a piece of what you have. And that's how we call it affordable. And yet, the Democrats are great at just looking at one side of the ledger. Well, now we're making things more affordable. You mean by raising taxes on the rest of us? You raise taxes on us to make our homes less affordable so you can redistribute our wealth and, quote unquote, make it affordable for somebody else. Instead of letting the market build what homes people could afford. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. Theo, Iowa, you are first up on the Locale Majority. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got the AC on recirculate.
Hi there. I was fascinated the other day by your talk on the car culture.
Rather than pull from the outside, which is what I normally do.
And how that's part of a free market system. And I was traveling through Chicago the other day, read the obituary. I think you ought to continue this kind of a segment and talk to people about this. I read an obituary of a man, I think his name was Charles Johnson. He created an industry in Chicago for beauty products for Black American women. And I think you ought to continue. And I think that's part of the culture of industry that can be created in this country that other countries may be. I don't know if that's a good example, but
no, it is.
You want to continue.
You got to let your soul blow.
Example.
Soul blow.
Yeah.
Right? Coming to America. You're right. What they're saying is we should throw off this idea that freely people, and look, some people are, I'm not an entrepreneur. My father was, I'm not. Some people can sense what other people want and need, and they seek to create it, to provide it, yes, for a profit. That when you look at a country that has more discretionary income, that's how we afford things like a motorcycle or a boat or a hot rod or whatever it is. And that industries create more jobs to support that. And because we have freedom and we can work to achieve the things that we want alongside the things that we need, we spawn things that, if you left it to the government, there are Democrats that say things like, what do we need 32 different deodorants for? I don't know. I don't know why we need 32 different deodorants, but apparently we want them, right? We can only have one. Imagine we just had one beer. We had one national beer. There's the national government beer.
Which one is 8308?
Now look at the free market and what it has created and grown. Think about that for a second. I thought I was going to use this later in the program, but I'll use it now as I continue to get calls. Their system of government would have Politburos. And I don't know if you saw this, that Moana, the live-action Moana, is about to lose $100 million.
Yeah, I think this is it.
I've never produced a film in my life, but I can tell you why. Because the original came out in the 80s. It's not nostalgic yet. You look at the live-action Cinderella, live-action Sleeping Beauty, live-action Aladdin, live-action The Little Mermaid, they're about 30 to 50 to even 70-year arcs. All right? Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty are the two, well, Snow White's really the first one. And even then, look how long they waited to make that live action. Moana only came out 10 years ago. Now, I know what they were doing. They're trying to capitalize on The Rock before he's too old to play the part. But when Moana first came out, there were professors at the University of Hawaii that were offended. They were offended at Lilo and Stitch, and they were offended at Moana. They wanted to control how Disney created those characters. Now, does Disney take from certain stereotypes? Does it take from artistic liability? Does it makes things control? Can you imagine when they produced Mulan? If they said, well, okay, we're not allowed to produce this film freely. We have to get approval from Chinese American college professors. And if you put a bunch of Chinese American college professors in charge of the movie, it would have sucked and nobody would have seen it. Right? If you put a bunch of Brooklyn hipsters and said, okay, you now are the beer Politburo, only the beers you approve of can be produced. What do you think would happen to Budweiser overnight? Doesn't matter if you like Budweiser or not. People should have the right to choose the product. Well, that's not good beer. Okay, but not everybody's as passionate about beer as you are, right? People are passionate about things, and then there are some things, I guess Bud is okay. I guess Miller Lite's okay. Whatever, I don't care. But imagine we had Politburos that determined what could and could not be produced. Again, I said it yesterday, show me the community revolving around vintage Russian automobiles. The government had an automobile maker, and that was the only automobile you were allowed to buy. And they all sucked. Why is it that a classic Detroit muscle is the envy of the world? Because the free market created it. Competition created it. It started with the Mustang, right? You had the Corvette and the Thunderbird, and then you had the Mustang, which was made specifically for young men to be able to afford. Then came the Camaro, and the Firebird, and the Charger, and the Challenger, and the muscle car racing was on. The Chevelle, right? The Chevelle 454 is a very desirable vehicle, even though it's like, what, 66 years old? Why do we still love 57 Chevys? Because we do. Freedom allows people to produce products and services for the passionate consumer and the driver. Some people don't care. Some people just go down the generic automobile lot. Okay, I'll take one of those. But maybe they're really passionate about one. Somebody that might be really passionate about a type of music isn't really passionate about this type of food. And you know what? When you have a free market and a free society, anything that people want can be produced. Let's see, who do we have here? Rick, Boca Raton, Florida. Go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
Yes, you've been talking my wife, my 3 of my 5 kids. They know my name too. I was at FAU College going to a meeting, and I came down and ate lunch at a table. And here's a bunch of young people, and they were talking about, they were talking crap. So I told them about Lenin. He had the Bolshevik, and he tried to take over the USSR, and he couldn't. So he got all the young people to do so. After the young people helped him do that, Lenin turned around and shot 600,000 of them. Is that pretty much correct?
Well, it's kind of like Mondami getting the endorsement of the New York City Teachers Union, that he basically robbed their pensions.
And that's what's going to happen to our college. They're coming out. They've got Palestine flags, Black Lives Matter. Once it's taken over, if it is, they're going to come around. They're not even going to have a job because everybody coming from Venezuela or whatever, they're going to be having the jobs. And these young people that they took down our government.
Well, you got to understand, everybody that promotes communism, socialism, does so thinking of themselves as leadership. They never think of themselves as the governed. Thank you very much for the call. Let's see, who do we have here? Let's see. Bill, Indiana, go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
Oh, yes, I am. Listen, now, as I told you, Springer, this could be hyperbole on your part, but you're not really comparing Norway to being what the DSA is talking about, are you?
No,
First thing is this: Norway's got its own stock exchange. That is not anything I've ever heard about socialism. The one thing they do provide things that this country doesn't provide, but they do it in such a way that really, I'm not sure, for example, on healthcare. I hate to say it, but that's a problem that this country's got has nothing to do with socialism.
I know. They think it's their comparison.
Well, okay, if that's their comparison, then they're a bunch of idiots. Because that's not the way. Again, if you got a country that's got a bunch of small businesses, the only thing Norway has on a socialist basis is the power company. Well, I lived in Virginia for 4 or 5 years, and we had Dominion Energy, and I can guarantee you the Commonwealth of Virginia kept track of what Dominion Energy did. They were a private company. I owned stock in it. But the thing was, they were not done better. They were what they were. They were utility. But let me bring up one of the side points this. And I've been a political science junkie since 1960 when Kennedy and Nixon ran against each other. Right now, the two things that I think are making both parties have any viability is because of what the other party's doing. As I said before, 5 of the last 7 elections, people did not vote for somebody, they voted against somebody. And that includes 16, 20, and 24. So, my situation is this, is that basically most people a lot of times walk there and hold their nose and say, I don't like this son of a bitch, but this guy over here's a bigger one, so I'll take the lesser of 2 evils. And I think with both parties,
I don't know. Maybe you're right to a point, and thank you for the call. In 2008, I voted for McCain because he wasn't Obama. And in 2012, I voted for Romney because he wasn't Obama. But I had never been more excited in my life to vote for Donald Trump. Absolutely excited. And there are things I disagree with. There are things I think are going to have to be changed in the future, like these baby bonding.
Yeah, there's a lot of parks along the river there.
But you know, I see a caller who says the muscle car era was started by Pontiac. Okay, the GTO. The GTO is obviously one of the first. John DeLorean, by the way, created the GTO. If anyone doesn't know that. Second hour next, Sirius XM Patriot, Representative Claudia Tenney, joins me. You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m. You're awake, running the numbers in your head. Payroll's coming. A client hasn't paid. Costs just went up. And you're thinking, how am I going to make this work? That's where LendSeek comes in. That was me. I had payroll in 3 days and money tied up in receivables. I couldn't wait weeks for a bank. I went to LendSeek, and within minutes, I saw real funding options. They were clear, upfront, no games. By the next day, the money was in my account. Payroll went out. Crisis over. LendSeek uses AI to match your business with the right funding, up to $5 million in as fast as 24 hours. With LendSeek, it's not just funding, it's knowing you're covered when things get tight. If you've been in business for at least 1 year with at least $500,000 annual revenue, apply today. No upfront costs, no prepaid penalties, because in business, waiting isn't an option. Start ready, stay ready with LendSeek. Apply at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com. USA. Steven Singer, the I Hate Steven Singer guy, just released a brand new limited edition USA 24 karat gold dipped rose to celebrate America 250. It's a red, white, and blue rose with a star-spangled interior. The best part? A portion of the proceeds from each rose sold supports U.S. veterans in need. Steven's famous roses are a real rose, dipped and preserved in pure 24 karat gold, guaranteed to last a lifetime. Get this new one-of-a-kind patriotic rose while helping U.S. vets. The first batch sold out within 24 hours. Hurry to IHateStevenSinger.com to pre-order your USA rose with special patriotic gift box. Or visit Steven Singer Jewelers at the other corner of 8th and Walnut in Philly, or in the Village at Newtown next to the Capitol Grill in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That's
No, I'm just parked here. It's actually not even a pharmacy anymore. This is at a Dollar Tree. Kind of a shady spot.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has issued disaster declarations in 59 counties across his state as days of heavy rains pose a serious risk of flooding. Uvalde resident Bailey Luckman among those who decided to head for higher ground.
We're being told to evacuate. It's not mandated, but it's recommended. I'm very worried about my things.
It was on July 4th of last year when similar floodwaters in the Texas Hill Country caused the Guadalupe River to rise approximately 25 feet, leading to that disaster at Camp Mystic, in which 25 Christian girls attending the camp lost their lives, along with 2 counselors and the camp director. The U.S. Coast Guard has suspended its search for 3 people that were still missing after a boat capsized in the cold, choppy waters of San Francisco Bay. Commercial fisherman Justin Marceline was among those who helped to rescue some of the passengers.
There was a boat, the smoke bellowing out of it. So, 2 minutes into fishing, we reeled up our lines. I said, we're going over there. And Mike said, we got to go over there. It's kind of like boaters etiquette, help people in distress. We reeled up the lines and we jammed over there.
The vessel had been carrying 20 people, family and friends, who had gone out to scatter the ashes of a loved one who died about 10 years ago. The day of the disaster, 1 person was confirmed dead, 16 others were rescued. A potentially deadly childhood disease making a comeback.
Measles cases on the rise here in the U.S. Johns Hopkins School of Medicine says we are about to break a 35-year record. The CDC says there were close to 2,300 measles cases last year in 2025. But as of this July, we've already hit that number and are expected to surpass it. The last time measles was an issue was back in the early 1990s.
On Wall Street, the Dow is right now up 52 points. The NASDAQ down 247. More from townhall.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says violent far-left political terrorism can no longer be denied as he urges more than 60 countries gathered in Washington to treat the threat as a global counterterrorism priority. Speaking at the opening of a State Department ministerial attended by roughly 65 foreign delegations, Rubio said governments had spent too long overlooking what he described as a resurgence of transnational far-left extremist violence and called for greater international cooperation to counter it. Rubio described radical leftism as a, quote, poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice. Rubio said the Trump administration is rebuilding the U.S. counterterrorism strategy. Hopes that people will be willing to pay a little bit more for more elbow room. United plans to roll out its new Economy Plus seats later this year. It will have no neighbor in the middle spot.
Just join the majority.
Your generation of great talk radio, the founder of the new school. That's me, Andrew Wilkowski, Sex and Patriot. Phone lines, as always. White's 695 Patriot 957-2874. The email, spell the name right, WILKW at localmajority.com. Individual Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third, and working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by SiriusXM Radio because it's based on one thing and one thing only, and that is rational thought. So welcome to the Wilkow Majority. I'm Andrew Wilkow. So I'm not getting this, how Kathy Hochul can just ban AI data centers with an executive order. At a time especially when businesses are leaving New York in droves. It's the same thing in New Jersey. In droves. People are picking up and leaving. We watched as Andrew Cuomo gutted the natural gas industry, or the nascent natural gas industry, by saying we're not going to have any fracking, we're not going to have pipelines, we're going to cancel all this stuff. And now Hochul's saying, well, we don't want any economic development around data centers. Can you play that clip of Kathy Hochul? I don't know how she did this by executive order, but can you play that clip for me?
I'm using AI to analyze every single rule, regulation, policy, see whether it's antiquated, outdated, too many fees. We just finished this. I'm going to try taking 5 years at the staff level. Did it in a couple of months. And I have over 4,000 recommendations from the public who want us to look into things. Plus, I have all my agencies now using this list that they're given. Okay,
she's used AI to make the list.
Wacky, old school stuff. Crazy things like horses allowed on the streets and things. Yeah, all kind of like everything has to be sent in many rules by telegram or. It's on the books. A lot of people have been in violation. Yeah. And,
okay, let's cut this one short because I have a second. This is the setup to the second clip. So she's using AI, right? She claims the Democrats hated Doge, but now she claims she's using AI to go through all the New York State regulations that were made by her party and acting like she's the hero. So that'd be like if you had a broken window and the Democrats showed up and said, we can fix the window, but you didn't see that a couple hours earlier they were the ones that broke the window. So now she wants to use AI. At the same time, she wants to put a moratorium on AI data centers. Play that clip.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
We embrace new technologies and innovation. And truly, I said, whoever owns the future of AI will own the future. So we are very focused on job creation. But when you look at the price that has to be paid, we're asking New Yorkers to have to sacrifice their future so another company can be successful. What I'm talking about is the enormous demand that these giant centers place on the local energy grid, using our supply, which is already, taxed, and we're in shortages already, and we're having challenges. And also the water, the enormous amount of water that is consumed, the impact of communities on the noise and just neighbors who live there. So it has a massive outsized impact and doesn't create the jobs. I mean, there are some construction jobs in the beginning, but it's not a long-term proposition like a Micron, which is building over 20 years for fabs, semiconductor manufacturer, or I'm from Buffalo, you're from Rochester. We know what these industries are like. I will support those, but to ask us to support these huge, mega centers without a community benefit, without knowing the real impacts, I want to know what's the impact on our energy grid. I want them to have to pay for their own power when they come, or else pay a premium, because I don't want our local ratepayers, who are already paying way too much in utility bills, to have to be subsidizing these giants. That's what this is about. A pause. We're first in the nation, but more important than being first is being first to get it right. And I believe that other states will follow our lead when we reinstitute the end of the moratorium, but also I think there's great opportunities here for us to show our values as New Yorkers.
Okay, let's cut this off. So basically she's saying, don't bother building here, go somewhere else. So when she lifts this moratorium of pause, she's going to find that people went elsewhere. Joining on the program right now is Representative Claudia Tenney, New York's 24th Congressional District. I know we're supposed to talk about fraud in adult daycare and Medicaid. I want to talk about that. But how does the governor, just with a stroke of a pen, tell this industry to take a long walk on a short pier?
Andrew, thank you for playing those two clips, because this is brilliant. It just shows how idiotic the Democrats are, how dangerous they are to policy. And the fact that Kathy Hochul can sit with me last week at the Micron concrete pouring, when we're about to put in this incredibly extensive and comprehensive, advanced semiconductor manufacturer in upstate New York, and the money being put into it, and the importance of this to our national security and our ability to have all the things that she wants to do using AI with advanced memory chips and the ability to do that kind of calculation. How do you sit there and say we can't have the data centers which are supporting and providing us all the technology we need for all kinds of industries, automotive, defense, aerospace, industrial? I mean, this is
the AI she used to cut back things.
Oh, well, we're going to wait and see what happens because we need a buy-in. Well, the whole reason we have Micron there is that's the first step of the chain. And I mean, it's just the absolute lack of understanding. And also, let me just say, and I can't say it enough, the most dangerous thing about New York State right now, and I've lived there my entire life, is the catastrophically bad energy policy because of the Democrats and people like Kathy Hochul, who have denied us the access to safe, responsible
I might just call it and go home for a little bit before I have to go back out.
All of the above strategy in New York to have, a baseload power to keep manufacturing, to keep people safe, to keep our country and our state secure. They have chased everyone away with their policies because our energy is not only so expensive, but it has also put us at risk. We are down 80% in the security of our energy grid since the Democrats put this crazy climate bill in place in 2019. So each time, the independent, operators have told New York State, and I'm talking some of these groups are left-leaning, you are in a dangerous, catastrophic situation for your state. You're going to have a meltdown. You're going to have a major outage because you are not maintaining baseload power and the energy grid that you need to sustain what you had in 2019, let alone what we have now in 2026 and the future. It's insane. It is absolutely hypocritical. It is idiotic. It is dangerous. And listening to her is just, it makes my ears hurt listening to this, honestly.
Why doesn't she let Shenango County or Allegheny County or Genesee County or Wyoming County make these decisions themselves?
They have made these decisions, and she's blocking them out because she is getting ambushed by the far left radicals who think that we should live in huts and use compost and not have any kind of modernization. We can't have air conditioning. These are the same people telling you our energy grid is under risk. Put your thermostat at 78. You can't have an escalator now. When you're coming out of the subway in New York City, you have to either walk up the stairs or go in an elevator with your luggage or whatever you might be coming off of. I mean, this is the kind of absurdity that they are bringing to us. It's primitivism. And yet then they claim that they own the future and they own the technology. They don't. They're insane because they believe and listen to the radical far left climate, crazies.
Businesses are leaving, and she thinks she could put up a moratorium. All she's telling the industry is to put down roots somewhere else. And I understand.
Well, she told us to get out of the state. Remember, get out of town until we didn't have enough money to pay when she sent all the millionaires and billionaires to other states. And now she's saying, "Oh, come back and pay for our social services bills." Yeah, right.
Well, I get it. People in New York City, they love their upstate farms, quote unquote, or they pretend to be farmers, and they like their vacation homes. Yeah. But certainly there are counties.
I'm a little more optimistic about it.
This. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But
I just ended the dash
now because the industry's been told there's hostility in New York and you're not welcome here, so go build somewhere else. And what's funny is Governor Josh Shapiro, I might not agree with the guy, but they embrace fracking, they embrace oil, they embrace natural gas, and I guarantee when push comes to shove, the Democrats in Pennsylvania are going to embrace AI data centers.
Absolutely. And this is a gift, by the way, from God to have the amount of Marcellus and Utica shale that we have in New York State that we can't touch. The only state, by the way, with this kind of rich natural gas reserves that can't touch it. And Pennsylvania is prospering because of it. And all this propaganda has gone out against natural gas. The same types of people, whether it's the Russians who are trying to get the Democrats to ban hydraulic fracturing in New York back in 2014 when Cuomo led the charge on that and shut us off in the world. And now it's the Chinese who want to beat us in AI and hyperscaling and data centers by telling the people in our state. And I got to tell you, I go around my district and there are even people that are conservatives that say, oh, these data centers are bad. They're costing us all this energy. The water's polluted. This is propaganda coming from our enemies who want to work against us. They want to keep us, not able to keep on par with them. And this is a dangerous thing. And unfortunately, in the age of social media, the Democrats just latch onto these talking points. They latch onto these, these easy issues that, for them are just shut everything down. But, we're going to lose in the long run because the New Yorkers are going to lose. And, we're going to continue to see mass out-migration from New York State. And I think it's interesting to know, when I know everybody puts out how many millionaires and how many billionaires have left New York, and it's about $11 billion in tax revenue that we've lost since, this crazy scheme has gone on with tax the rich. But it's not just millionaires and billionaires. It's middle-class people who leave. And by the way, many of them take their New York State pensions with them that are going to other states and living a better life because it's more affordable. You can have your air conditioning set at 75 or 72 or whatever you want it to be. I mean, seriously. This is what's happening, and who's going to pay for the future New York State pensions? They didn't do anything about that because we just had a $269 billion budget, $15 billion more than last year, and part of that was to pay for all the socialist, communist wants of Zoran Mandami, who runs the Democratic Party now. He is the leader of the party. He's the one that dictates what goes on. Extreme Islamist, anti-police, anti-prison, anti-ICE, tax the rich, Marxist. And that's what we get.
I want to play something for you. I don't know if you were in this hearing. Forgive me for not knowing whether or not you were there. But this is very interesting. While we're going to talk about fraud in Medicare in New York, Nick Shirley was asked a question, and I think this was really, really interesting because his motivations have been questioned. But he was asked a question about how he kind of, fell into this with with Minnesota and LA and other places. Play cut 10.
Yeah, for now, I'm going to go back out though. A couple hours.
What you're actually finding, like what's the tip that you're saying? I see.
Go check on my dogs.
There. How are you identifying?
Yeah, a lot of the time go through these databases and look for the largest amount of funding, and then also looking for the anomalies that come. For instance, in New York City, at these adult daycares, there were 7,899 patients enrolled into a daycare, an adult daycare, and there's $12.9 million. And I go to that daycare, it's there's only one floor, and it'd be quite frankly impossible to enroll that many patients into that daycare.
Yeah. So it's just going through the available public data.
Yes, and then also relying upon Americans. For instance, I learned about the Minnesota fraud from Minnesotans. I went there and they told me, hey, finally you're here to make a video on the fraud. I said, well, what are you talking about? And they said, well, this fraud's happening, this fraud's happening. So for the past, then after that, for 6 months, I looked for that information about the fraud.
Forget about whether or not people are contacting you. What he's saying is this data is publicly available. He went to an adult daycare center in Queens that alleged to have about 8,000 active clients. And like he said, it was a storefront with like a couple of people playing cards. And he was asking the people, they're like, do you have 8,000 people here? They're like, no. It says you build Medicare for $12 million. And the guy kicked him out. So he's just taking what is publicly available. Maybe he should use Kathy Hochul's magic AI to do this stuff, or maybe she should. He's going to these physical addresses and asking, where are the 8,000 people that you're listing? This is not the fact that he might have ensnared some Somalis, or in the case of Queens, some Asian alleged business owners. This is publicly available data. Why are we not concerned about this?
Yeah, I mean, this is the classic Democrat blame the messenger. All he's doing is using common sense and seeing the taxpayer dollars are being wasted and walking in and seeing this kind of thing. Now, how can you defend it, though, when you know the taxpayers are out there footing the bill? But, this is something that has gone on in New York for a long time. I had the, good fortune of meeting Nick Shirley a while back. He came and spoke at the Republican Study Committee. And, really incredibly nice young guy. He has no motivation to do anything against anyone. I mean, he's, a deep a man of faith, and he just really cares about what we're doing to the taxpayers. But that's the difference. The politicians in New York, from Kathy Hochul to Mandami to the Democrats that run the Assembly and Senate, have no respect for the taxpayers. They think the taxpayers are somehow bad people who employ others, people that go out, like my family business. We go out and we create a product. It's exciting, and we love having our team, and we take care of our families, and we do everything we can to provide them with health care and a 401k in a rural area, and give them a job opportunity so they can go raise a family and they can buy a house and buy a car and have a great life. But you know what we're doing? The Democrats view us as we're oppressors, and we only hire people because we want to oppress them. And it's all this rhetoric that comes from this Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, or wherever it comes from, this Marxism, and they just view everyone or anyone who doesn't respect the taxpayers as someone that's questioning that. There's something wrong with them. They're shooting the messenger as opposed to trying to fix these things. And yet New York continues to have the highest Medicaid, the highest fraud, abuse, and waste. And yet what do? We blame people like Nick Shirley, who's just a kid that was just trying to do the right thing. And now he's become a national hero. But he's not going after people because of their nationality or their religion or whatever. He's just saying, hey, how can you spend $13 million on 8,000 people, and then you have one floor here that probably holds like 50 people.
Even if he had warped intentions, he's taking what the government made the data available for a reason, right? So he's taking what the government has made available and turned it into a journalistic product. Even if he had some warped reason for doing that, who cares? He's proven that this is the taxpayer, and you're a federal representative, that the taxpayer is being built for this, that this is absolutely a theft and fraud on the taxpayer and the government itself.
Absolutely. And what you've just pointed out is that, when you turned it into a journalistic story, where are the investigative journalists in the mainstream media? Where are they doing this? Isn't their job as the fourth estate? I owned a newspaper. We used to try to find all this kind of stuff, trying to give our information that we could get using our reporters going in and honestly trying to find out what the truth was at city council meetings, town meetings, whatever we could do. We're an investigative journalist trying to help the public. That's their job. Their job isn't to wear a team jersey. Their job isn't to protect the Democrats like the legislative correspondents all do in that association in Albany. It's all about currying favor with the Democrats on the left, not holding them accountable. And I think that's why people have so little faith in the media, and that's why people are very skeptical, especially in New York. We get fed this line, and yet this innocent guy comes in, and you're right, it doesn't matter what his intentions are. He's taking government data, which is amazing. And by the way, Kathy Hochul doesn't give out a lot of government data. We can't get the information on a lot of different things that we'd like to see. How are the SNAP funds being spent in New York? Where are the error rates in New York? Why are some counties worse than others? Why are we punishing counties that have low error rates? She won't give us the data. You know why? Because you're going to find out that upstate New York is doing a pretty darn good job with less resources. Our poorer counties, our smaller counties who work hard to be accountable to their constituents, and yet big counties like New York City, run by Mondani, are running amok. But I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we see, and it's unfortunate for the people in New York that we don't have a media that is really our fourth estate and really protecting us.
I know that we're at an inflection point where if you're a Democrat and a Republican advocates for something, you don't want to be contaminated by being seen as agreeing with them, right? I mean, Zoran Mondani actually said something so absurd the other day that the rape statistics in New York are what they are because we have an expansive definition of rape. Well, what's your definition, sir? What do you need? 4 male eyewitnesses to corroborate? I mean, what do you mean by that? You would think the Democrats, and I've said this, I think I said it to you and others, let's just say we've lost the philosophical argument that government is supposed to be providing this kind of support. I don't think it should be, but okay. We've lost the philosophical argument, and now this is how we're allocating the tax dollars. You would think the Democrats would be twice as pissed off that $12 billion went to a fraudulent adult daycare center that listed 8,000 people, that maybe had 50, 60 people in there. That means the other 7,500 or 7,000 didn't get that service. That's the thing I don't understand. Like, with that feeding our future, well, we have to feed these low-income kids. Okay, I think that should be a state-level thing or a charitable thing, but okay.
All right, brother. Okay.
I'll
be back later.
The Department of Agriculture is going to provide these grants. But if that money's stolen,